Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to a beautiful Friday. I hope you're all doing well. And welcome to TradeSetup in the live stream. It is the 20th of January 2017. So we're having a great day so far. The market's sold off a bit. There's a few, it's actually unusual, but a few that are just kicking on strong. A few of our positions are kicking on strong, yet the market's been grinding lower. So it's always good to have something that goes against a trend that's, you picked it right when it's actually going up in a weak market. So that's nice. It's good to go on a Friday that way. And the US is quiet last night. Uh, we'll go over that in just a minute. We'll take a look at a few charts, but they were quiet. There's the inauguration of President Donald Trump tonight. I'm not sure what time it is. There's no real time. I think it's got a long process as well, the way the Yanks are with all the bells and whistles. So that'll be on tonight, and it'll be interesting to see how the market takes it and what he says in his speech. He's got a lot to do if this market's going to stay nice and strong. Otherwise, we could, like we said before, could see a bit of a sell-off if he doesn't produce the goods now. Um, we'll go over the usual. So what you've seen on the front page there, for anyone that's new, I know there's a few new people may or may not be on at the moment. You can join us at the Twitter page at the top left corner at trade_setup. Just join us on there, or follow us on Twitter. Then you can link into us on Facebook. I think it's facebook.com/trade setup, the top right, and just subscribe to us on YouTube if you like. Now, what we're doing with the stream videos that we present, we have been presenting sort of most of this year. I've been uploading those to the Facebook side as well. So instead of having to sit through the whole stream, you can just jump on and view those videos the most recent ones up there, the last 2 or 3, and I've started off with the first 3 or 4, I think 3. So I'm just in the process of getting the rest of those on, so you can view those at your own leisure. They're about anywhere from 7 or 8 minutes to 15, 16 minutes, so depending on what we're talking about and whether I get sidetracked when I'm talking, so which I tend to do. Well, let's get into it. We'll take a look at the markets, just what they did overnight. Like I said, they backed off a bit overnight. Not big moves. Our market was down in the futures in SICOM session, overnight session. SICOM's the old terminology. They see our market, I think it finished down about 13 points from where 5 o'clock yesterday when the night session opened, which wasn't too big, but the market's continued on. I expect it to be about 5 to 10 down, just opened slightly weaker. Being a Friday, you thought it might have been factored in, but it's sold a bit harder. Generally, that's the way it looks like with our market. We tend to, the US is down 10, we're down 30. They're up 30, we're up 10. So it seems to be we're harder to convince the Australian market, the ASX, or maybe it's just not as big. So you get some people really jump in the US and they can kick their market along well, and they all it gets a bit of a run on. Whereas we get a bit tentative on the upside, yet we're happy to sell down sometimes. So we do grind a lot higher, as we did from 50.50 up to, where did we get to, about 5,800. But we'll have a look now. This is the ASX. Well, this is the CFD, but it's pretty much in line with the ASX there. You can see we did yesterday on the open was quite positive yesterday, up about 30 or 40 on the open, and then just drifted lower into the close. At one stage, it was negative from the prior close, but I think we finished in the green just slightly. And then, actually, we just get up this chart. Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, so yesterday we finished up. We did go negative from the previous close, but yeah, then opened. Sorry, to drift higher into the close yesterday. Then we sold off. We didn't really get on with it yesterday, and then overnight, so we sold off a bit, not too bad, and then we just carried on today, and we've hit that support at 56.53, which you can see. But we're getting a bit extended to the downside, so whether or not this can hold out, we get a bit of a wash at that level, and then bounce from there. If we can just go back to, actually, we'll look at the daily on this chart. The daily is still, like we said a few times, it's just drifting lower, but it's more of a grind than anything else. It's not, you can see that type of price action, the far left, is more controlled than, say, like we mentioned before, this type of sell-off, comes down, there's one green day, bang, 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 and then tries to go and then just capitulates a bit. Even these types of move, you can see when it started rolling over, you got those bigger days where these have been quite small down days, followed by an up, slightly up. and it tests the highs, previous day's highs, popped out there, down again. So it's similar type of price action. It's more controlled, and it's worked its way down to being um, relatively stretched to the downside, yet that's not such a bad move down. So that would lead me to believe that, look, we could be testing sort of 56. It's another 50 points away. Who knows where we're going to, but this market could easily pop its head up. And if it tries to go to the highs again and makes that lower high, then I'd start to get a bit more concerned about it. But at the moment, we'll just have to see how it plays out. The weekly, you can see that weekly start, it's stretched up here too. And it's failed to get up to 6,000 on that most recent move. But it'd be interesting to see how it all plays out. Like we said, was it yesterday? Talked a bit about the US and the US dollar. No, that's what I'm talking about today. So we've spoken about it in the past. US dollar's a key at the moment. US dollar and Trump. So the market's extended. We've got their reporting season out. And if they fail to meet expectations on a few, or they start to feel that underperform a bit, then I would expect a bit of profit taking. I think it's going to be fair. It's got better than expectations consistently for this market to start kicking on a bit. But in saying that, there's no reason. I mean, you just got to play what you see. That's what I guess you're trying to say. I always try to keep an open mind, like I think I've mentioned before, so I don't get biased either way. You never want to be, well, in my opinion, you don't want to be biased either way as such. You have a feeling, but you're always looking just to manage your risk when you've got something on. And just keep an open mind, so it keeps you looking out for the downside too, just to be aware that, I mean, if you're always, bull, the last thing I want to do is a bull or a bear, really. I just want to trade what I see there. And okay, so if I see my lower high, then I want to be on the back foot and just defending my positions if I've got any, or looking to attack some short sides. If not, then I'll just be happy if I'm sitting on the sidelines. I'll just look at what's popping up on the short side if the market looks like it's rolling over. But if I'm long, yeah, like I said, I don't want to just be convinced that I'm right. I want to see that prove it to me on a chart, and if I prove I'm wrong, give it a chance to actually prove itself. Anyway, again, sidetracking there. Let's go and look at some of the. Anyway, any questions? It's just a touch on my psychology anyway. I know a lot of people in here are trading away. Anyway, that's what I've learned from the big Dav. Anyway, if he's listening, try to keep an open mind and then get shitty when you're wrong. Anyway, give myself a giggle. Let's just take a look at where the Aussie's at. I was actually looking at this yesterday. I think I had a trade on this. I ended up neutral, even though I was biased to the upside. I think I had a couple of cracks at the downside at this stage on a shorter time frame. This is a 30, even though I thought it might have popped high, especially when it broke here. When it broke here and held up, then I flipped over and went long, but it's really just making back what I lost on that. And I missed this move up. I think it was just before the stream yesterday. But I was looking for it to go higher, which it did, and we spoke about this yesterday. It backed off, but it's still holding that move. It's touched down in that support zone, and it started holding this higher low. It's only minor on the 30-minute chart, and another high low in here, and it's worked its way up and just popped through the highs. Now, at this stage, you might have thought it was just a washout, but once it's built this higher low just in here at that 75.33 level, it started. You can see it's picking up, and it's holding some minor higher lows as well, which means that this is, potentially another leg up. Oh, who knows where we're heading? Let's just draw it up. Let's just see. If that's the case and we're right, we would be looking for something like, that we're probably extending up to say 7,600, an even number. But we'll see how that plays out. It is a bit extended in price, but like I said, the Aussie tends to really, it could keep grinding higher when it's getting the price of getting overextended. It just catches people out all the time, and then when they finally give up the ghost, then it'll roll over and they'll all be long. So we'll see how we go anyway. Pound, I just had a little play on this, bought it just in here, just this morning, bit of a play, and I was actually going off the half an hour chart, so I had to stop, just pressed a random stop there while I was watching it all the way down below that sort of higher low. It's on a 30-minute chart. It looked great. And you can see it's got that price structure. Well, let's just go on the 5, just before we go to it, the 5-minute chart. It's pushed up here, had a leg up, contracted lower, started holding, it's pushed up here, and it looked like it was going to hold this high low right up near the resistance and then just pop up through. It was a bit extended though, so So it did back off, and you can see that as it's backing off, it's still holding the highs, yet the stochastics, the sellings are coming. It's just getting soaked up, if that's what you, one way to look at it. Any of the sellers are getting soaked up by buyers, which is good. So when you see the price don't back off too much, just grinding lower, it's a good sign that it's going to go, and that it did. And actually, you've closed that just for a small gain. That's kicked on, which is nice. So I'm expecting that. If we look at the half an hour chart, I'm just expecting that to probably kick on a bit more. You can see the base on the half an hour chart looks nice. So yeah, look at that type of price action. Just go back to get a bit more context in that. So we've had that contraction high to get this level up at 124.30, say, and then we backed off, tested support, tried again, pushing lower, and busted through that support. So there would have been a few stops washed out there, but they held that low, and that was really on some negative news. And then May come out, Prime Minister May come out and, I don't know, structured the way they're going to get out of the EU, and that obviously was taken quite positively by the pound and kicked up. We backed off from there, so we're looking for that higher low. If this is going to be after that strong move up, you expect a bit of a wash, some shorts, some shorts to enter because it's overextended on that side. There's always people that can't help themselves, I guess. Market any longs to start probably taking a bit of profit, but just because it pulled up short, just of that resistance zone, and once it builds at higher low, we're looking for it now. I'd expect it to actually kick up and bust through that 124.30, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's it for those currencies. What we're going to talk about today is gold. I want to just go over gold. We've touched on it a while ago, and gold's lockstep with the US at the moment, US dollar. US dollar's down, gold's been popping up, especially where it is at the moment. So I'm starting to get a bit biased to the long side, but I feel it's got a bit more work to do for my liking before I'm happy to actually start jumping. So we'll take a look at, firstly, we'll go through, there's a few news headlines we'll look at, then there's the physical gold, and then just look at the sectors on gold, and we'll finish off just looking at a couple of charts, a couple of current stocks, which, as we know, there's been a few that have been banged down on gold, but yes, the longer term trend, it's really just a reaction to the highs. But we'll see that. We'll get that up and running now. Now, just remember, if you've got the screen is slightly out of focus, just remember to go to settings on your YouTube channel, go to quality and click it to 720 by 60. And that should fix it up the quality wise. All right, guys, let's mute myself and then play myself. There you go. Welcome to Trade Setup in the live stream. What we're going to talk about today is gold. We're going to take a look at the old favorite, the precious metal, the shiny precious metal. And the topic is gold set to soar, or is it going to fall in a heap? Yeah, we haven't touched on gold for a little while now. I think since we last did, it has come off quite a bit, and that pretty much after the elections. It did spike up just over the elections and then pretty much fell in a heap after that. We had the US dollar has been rallying quite hard on the back of strength in the US and a Trump-induced rally. So we'll take a look at that as well, and we'll take a look at the top headlines coming regarding gold at the moment, and then we'll just flick it over and have a look at the technicals and break it down from there. Okay, we'll kick it off by, we'll just start and see what the latest headlines are pumping out at the moment. We're on Reuters. We can see that through there, Reuters. And we just got the top headlines related to gold. They're coming through thick and fast by the looks of it. But what you can see, the latest ones as of obviously today, 18th and 19th, that was today, it's got to do with US dollar. So most of them are coming through with all linked up to US dollar in some way or another. So obviously a higher US dollar would mean pressure on gold, and that's what we've seen over the last, probably pretty much since the election. Pressure on gold. It's coming off some highs. It is in a downtrend. Now we have seen the last few days, probably weeks, that gold has had a good bounce. It's bounced quite strong. So everyone's talking, obviously, the weakness in US dollar. So it's all linked in there, and also Trump and his policy concerns. You can see this headline here. Gold holds near 8-week high as Trump policy concerns hit the dollar. So again, linked to the dollar and Trump. So it's all the same sort of scenarios. Look like they're coming across the gold headlines at the moment. So we've spoken about this a few times. probably in the past even, the last few streams, where if we do see Trump, and we're getting at the moment, so the play of things that we got US company announcements are playing out. So I believe that they have to be a lot better than expected, and surprisingly a lot better than expected for those individual markets or sectors to start kicking up. We're just having a fair few banks, so in the financial sector, reporting in the US, and they're coming out better than expected. I don't know how much better, to be honest, but better than expected. But there's still, we're not getting much action in that, and it's because it's rallied 20%. So um, it's already been factored in. The markets have looked well ahead. It's factored in. So now you might start to see a bit of sell the fact. So buy the rumor, sell the fact, like we've spoken about a few times. Okay, so if that's the fact, then what's to sustain the market pushing higher? Now, anything could happen. We know that. But generally, when things get a bit extended, to at least go higher in the longer term, a little bit of steam needs to come out of the market, and that could be what we're looking at in the US. So, over the next month or couple of months, if we want to see higher prices, I would expect we get a bit of a pullback at the very least. Things can't just keep ticking away higher. I mean, there is probability-wise, things shouldn't keep ticking higher. They can also do that, always do that, but we need, a bit of profit taking is probably going to come into the market. A bit of profit taking, but then because we do have company reports that are actually going out better than expected, you probably find that we'll be value buying back into the market once we had that correction. A bit of steam comes out of the market, starts stalling to the downside. The overall longer-term trend's still higher, and then we get some buying back in. What does that mean? And then pushing, obviously, equity prices higher. So what does that mean to US dollar? Now, obviously, the market topples over. We've seen the US dollar's already has reacted and sold off, and there has been profit taken into that market. Now, if it does pop higher, obviously, with the key focus there is interest rates going forward. Now, what would happen? Because interest rates are not new within the last few days. The announcement of 3 rate hikes for 2017. It's something that's been talked about for quite a while also. So that's potentially factored into now. If I think that was talked about in 2016 as well, through more than just one. What we got one rate rise towards the end of 2016. They were talking about rate rises at the start of 2016 and how many is there going to be, 2, 3, or whatever. So if it's a bit of the same scenario, it might just get delayed and delayed, delayed. And they might just be trying to talk up the market. Now, if we start to get some negative data, you're going to get the US dollar starting to sell off again. And all that is the potential to play out. So I think there's a bigger risk to the downside for the US dollar potentially than to the upside, because a lot of it's already been factored in. So it's the unknown. We start getting a bit of a shock numbers out, some sort of not as inflationary numbers as we expect, because a lot of that will be factored in as we know what's expected. If it comes out under expectation, then it's got to be factored in, which means heading south. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. But there's a few key things that could put pressure on, obviously, the US dollar, and that could put pressure to the upside for gold. And we're starting to see gold's actually in probably not a bad position. So we'll look at some technicals in just a minute. I just want to keep going through these headlines, see if there's anything else that pops out. But obviously, like I said, they're linked to Trump and linked to the US dollar at the moment. Okay, just going to look at the gold ETF on the ASX. That's GOLD. We've spoken about this in the past also. We'll go through, just start off, we'll just look at the weekly charts. I'll flick it over there. Now, it's quite interesting, actually. If we just drill it back out a bit more, get a bit more info. It's definitely an uptrend. So what we can see is that prices are pushed up, holding higher lows, making new highs, a bit of contraction there, and then spiking to new highs. We had a bit of contraction, built a lower high here, which is pretty much around that 1700 mark, if you can see it. And then we started to sell off, and we built a base through that 1275, 750, and then we started building again, holding some higher lows again, spiking up through this most recent lower high, pushing back up, consolidating a bit, and then taking out this most recent high at 16, and so on. What we did, we've just sold off recently from that high, so it's pretty much a double top there, a little bit shy of that level at 17,750 to 1800, and it has just built some lower highs in there. But the key level really is down here at 13,750, which produced this minor leg higher. Well, daily leg higher. So we're looking at the weekly chart. So it's very interesting. If we just drill that down at the moment, I think this is the most recent leg. So we've got this key level down here at around that 13,750 to 1400. We are just retracing that level, but it's interesting that really that trend up hasn't really broken yet. Once it gets through there, then it's broken. But until then, that uptrend is not broken, and we can turn around and build a higher low, and then we could take us up through these highs at 17,750, which means that gold is active on the ASX. We'll take a look now at the XGD, I think it is. Okay, this is an ETF or sector sub-industry of gold. So it's all the gold stocks, big or small, trading on the ASX, whereas previously it was actually physical gold traded on the ASX and how that traded. So one's linked to physical gold, one's linked to gold companies. So you can see the action actually in who's buying and selling, working its way through to the sector or this XGD sub-industry. So what we can see there, again, it's sort of standing out where we just pick that there. We just pull back a bit. We've had this, whoop. So we had the market push up. We've had a good retracement there, holding lower highs right into that 1750, 1750 zone. And then we just started to lift off there. That was in 2015, built a higher low, and then we pushed it all the way back up to 5750. What we could be seeing now, or in the midst of seeing, and you can see that's come off. Oh, if we just take one step back, so we've got good support here, which is held. Actually, we'll just draw that up just 1 second. Just draw that last weekly chart up there. Okay, we can see that support has formed through that 750 mark, and just make that a bit smaller. And we've just taken out these highs at around the 2600, and we're just holding some higher lows now, and you can see that, and just building some higher highs, another higher low. We had that big extension up to, I think it was a 5800 on that, and then we had that sell off with physical gold as well. So what we could be seeing now, if we're just heading back to this is a nice little technical chart there. We could be heading this a nice pullback, but really, if you just look at these little highs, not taking out, the key one is right all the way back down here at 2350. Now, we may be seeing what we'd like to see for a bit of positivity in the gold. We've had that move up, and we've had that pullback, and we had that really blowout when we pushed down to these levels, and we've just recently bounced off the last, that's a weekly chart, it's the last few weeks. So let's take a look at the daily now. Okay, we've had a big, strong push lower recently from about that 5100. Good push lower to 34 with a big sell-off in gold, and that's pretty much since the election, popped up just before the election, and pretty much a hard sell-off as the US dollar bounced. And then we've had that big bounce back up the last few days, last few weeks. We are getting a bit extended up here, so what we would love to see, if we just get that drawing back up again, from here, whether or not we've seen lows, we don't know, but if we are going to see lows, we want to see failure of another move down. So we've had that leg up, which is this leg up here. You can see it's getting a bit extended. So what we'd want to see is a push down with strength, getting to oversold, but the highs pretty much a higher low build. And that will give us some good sign, that indication that we're going to start seeing some higher lows and higher highs press up and push up through resistance, which potentially could be around a 4800. But we initially want to see a good strong push down on the stochastics, getting down to that oversold mark, stretch to the downside, but price actually hold up. And that will give us a key indication that we are actually seeing gold getting supported. We've seen the low, and maybe it's time to start buying back into these gold shares, even though we have had a good strong push up recently. Let's just take a look at the physical gold now. Okay, looking at gold prices, spot gold, we can see it pretty much is early days at the moment. We have got this level down, or the lows down 1126. We have had a good strong move up off those lows, but we can still see technically the MAs are down. So technically, and we're in that overbought mark, overstretched on the stochastic. So we could be seeing that this is just a continuation. If we can just draw that up. I'll just draw a couple of lines in there. All right, we could be the case where we get this same type of move down, break out the lows, and then our whole thesis is overrun there at the moment. But what we are expecting is that gold's had a good, strong blowout linked to the US dollar. So if we do get all these other factors with the US dollar, Trump, he's got to produce the goods like we've mentioned. overextended market in the US. So if the US actually get a bit of profit taking, the US equities fall over, we might get we get the US dollar. We would expect a bit more selling into that, and we may get that high low that we're actually craving. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. But without picking a direction, it's still early days. Like I said, we're expecting to see this type of price action. If we do see that bit of contraction in there, then we'd expect to see it lift and hold a major high low and then start attacking up to 1300 and so on. And that would mean that the XGD, the actual stocks on the ASX, we're going to see a bit of action in those and a bit more people buying into those markets. So let's take a look at just those quickly. Okay, just going through the ones we keep an eye on. We've got DCN, Dacian Gold. It's had that big press up. This is a weekly chart. We've had that fail to get through the highs at $4, and then we had that press lower with gold dropping. We've had that bounce off just below $2, and we still think there's a bit of work in there, but it is in an overextended market to the downside. So it is in a prime position. We've probably got a bit more work to do on that one. SAR, a bit the same. We've had that big sell-off. It's coming back into a decent buying zone as well, and it's starting to press up out of that zone. Nothing just yet to say to jump in. And if we just look at the daily, pretty much the same. So they're all, at the moment, there's a fair few looking the same, a bit extended on a daily basis. So we need to see on a daily basis a press down and hold a higher low. Northern Star, same type of price action. It is extended to the downside on the weekly and coming out of an extended zone, but to the daily, we're extended to the upside as well. So we expect that to roll over, and we're just looking for that higher low to build. SBM, a bit of the same. It's just taking out these little highs, which is quite interesting. I think it was on the back of news the other day. But again, that weekly chart has a good strong move higher to 380, good sell off down to $1.80. Gave up a lot, but it is an overextended market to the downside. So we'll have to see what that one does as well. Let's just take a look at Oz Minerals. It was on the way up, so I think it's a bit late to jump into that one just at the moment. Oz Minerals, AQG, Alacia Gold, nothing much there. It's pretty much looks like it's heading south, right on support zone. So I'll keep away from that one just at this time. EVN, pretty much the same as the others. There's a few smaller ones we keep an eye on, which they're all looking much the same charts. Perseus, there it's headed south. I think it was on the back of some news just there as well. It's headed south quite hard. So that's about it. Anyway, well, Gold Road, GOR, that's one that's actually not looking too bad, looking some promise. So you can see that's holding, even on the weekly chart, it's still trending higher, even though we've had a bit of a sell-off in gold. It's in a good little zone there. So that daily chart just washed out these lows, but holding up. If we can see a higher low build here, maybe a pullback, higher low, then I think this one will really come into play. But it all, again, depends on the US dollar, what Trump continues to say, whether he puts his plans into action, and the US dollar. So we'll see how that plays out. But for us, we do think that it's starting to get in the prime area, just a bit of work to do. All right, guys, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that presentation. So basically, I'm believing gold. I think there's a move up on the cards. We'll just have to see how it all goes. But, I can actually get gold chart up to see what it's doing now. It has made back a couple of ducks of what it lost overnight. I think it lost about $6. It's just bounced back about 2. What's everyone else's view on gold? I know when you're a gold bug, you're a gold bug, so everything's a buying opportunity. But I think I've read a few articles, and you do see now there's been a few coming out about buying into gold, and they're starting to flow through. That's if you just Google gold, and you'll see all that. But you don't know which way. They've been biased for a long time, who knows? I think with it, we've just seen that bounce. I think it's got a bit of work to do. Just looking at that daily chart. Yeah, I want to see this as it is overextended. A bit of heat come out of that move up from 11.25, say. It's had a good move up, and it really hasn't changed. And that's probably about, I don't know, it's not even 50%, about 40% of that move down. So that's a good little correction. It could head south from here, but the way that capitulated, I think anyone who's holding a good position has been out of that physical gold. If you hold it long from up here, especially when you started failing, where you popped up and just failed up here, then actually we can see things just accelerate. So I'd expect a bit more contraction, just build a higher low in here. That's what we're waiting to see, and that way you should see it come into gold. even those gold stocks. So yeah, anyway, anything that you want to take a look at? Anyone wants to take a look at just while we're here? We've got one that we got into a few days ago. IFN would have been 2 days ago actually. So yesterday it was down slightly, and then today it's just kicked on strong. It's up 5-6%. Touched on $1. I think we're long, if I remember, from around 95. Anyway, so that's up slightly. That's doing all right. That price action looks quite nice. If you go to the weekly too, there's some room to move on that. You can see that it might be attacking this high at 105 or that zone up there, which would be nice. That'd give us about 10%, I guess. You're just taking the opposite side there, Frank. Oh, we'll see who's right. Look at MVP. Ah, you following that now? Yeah, it's kicked on. That's we will look at that. I've been looking at that every single day. So well, let's just take a look at it now. Pilbara is one that we've got our eye on too. That's the weekly chart there. You can see that. We'll go right at. It doesn't really matter the monthlies. You can see it's just coming off those lows. Weekly's just holding those higher lows. It held the higher lows, so it sort of started at the beginning of 2015, lifted off the lows around 2.5 cents, held the high low at 10 into the end of 2015. Had a bit of a pullback. Started 2016, that became the higher low. Off we shot to 87.5, and we spent most of last year, contracting. And we're just towards the end of last year. You can just see that higher low starting to hold, and you can see that curving top of bottom. That looks nice. So I've really got an eye on that. I just think it's got a bit of work to do. It may get a bit extended to the downside, and then we see this high low hold. I just want to see a little bit more short term, little high lows. Say something like this: if you can get that little contraction within these highs, and you can take an inside break, meaning between say 60 and I don't know 52, you're getting an inside continuation pattern. What I mean by that, I'll draw it up because I think it's a good thing to look at. It's a nice solid entry type of strategy or entry setup. What we're looking at, you can see these higher lows, but it's got a bit of, well, it's not even straight. It's Friday. The lines aren't straight by Friday. 60. So what I mean by inside, say you've got the market's pushed up, it's had a pullback, it's pushed up to the highs like you can see here. We have a pullback. What I'd like to see as an inside move is this type of action, and then whether it pushes up and finds resistance and then goes, or just goes straight up from there. This is what it could sort of like an inside continuation. So I would be happy to take a little setup like that, and it happened. You can see, if you can see, just here. Another little inside just here. You can see that the high lows are holding, and then it's just tried that just really minor contraction, then bang, off she goes. That way, it gives you a bit of a run into the highs. So if it does pull back at 60 again, you've got something up your sleeve. You can potentially just, if it just looks weak or something comes out, you can tighten your risk up and start again, and take the breakout of 60. But if that happens anyway, but if it rolls over, then at least you've got a chance to minimize your risk. And it's a nice little setup because it still is a higher low in context to what's happening. You've got a little inside level, which really, if it takes that inside level, it implies higher prices. Higher prices to where? Potentially this 60, or it's just a straight breakout, and it really builds up some steam, and you're getting, because I know there's probably going to be a few people looking to buy it in a break of 60 and holding stops right down here, wider stops, longer term players, whatever. But I just like to get in. That's my type of strategy, is trying to get in before the crowd really, and trying to beat them to the punch. And that way you're getting that flow on your side. I mean, if it does, for instance, this is where this works nicely. If you get that little, if I can just draw it now, that pop up through that resistance, and then it backs on you. That way, all these breakout traders are going to be behind in here and getting a bit flustered, whereas you could be up slightly or break even. And it's just a good little way to, using those shorter time frame charts, little quicker setups, just to limit your risk, and it always improves your overall results. by doing it that way, rather than getting hit on a major stop like that. When you're looking at a breakout of 60 and then it does break out and rolls all the way over, it takes you out here. We've defined our risk a bit better. We've minimized our risk, and that way, if you do get hit 50% of the time, or 50% of the time, your risk's a bit smaller. If that makes sense. Anyway, sidetracking again, but that's a nice one to be keeping in mind. MVP looks good. It's just busting through those highs, and another thing to take note of. We've really got this one on the cards. Is it's had a good strong move up, and as opposed to this, I don't like that color. As opposed to that move up there, that strong move up there, this strong move up has actually, it's just broken out there. So that's why we're starting to get that bust out through those highs. I think it's around 530, give or take 532, 3, 4, something like that. I think I have missed that last bit of data. Anyway, and that potentially is just resuming that longer term trend higher. You can see it's been squeezed in. We come, technically we come to some good levels too. We're testing down to some good levels. You can see it's pushed up, had a pullback, built a high low here, busted through that resistance, the previous high, and had a good strong leg up, and then we've contracted all the way down since about August last year. And this is the whole way down. It's had, I don't know if you remember, Clement, the actual news flow we've talked about, and you can go on the website and see it. They're basically waiting for that FDA approval out of the US. Now they've got it across Europe, the UK. They've had that same drug they're now distributing in other areas, but obviously the US is the big one. And if that comes on, you'd expect this thing to kick on. So maybe, not implying anything, but some people know some stuff that we don't. And that type of strong move higher and break, and it's held these highs too, and it's actually just broken through that. Yeah, it's just broken through as of today, through that. You can see here, high 532. It's looking quite good. I've actually got that somewhere way back anyway. It looks nice. I wrote all that down, which was a bit silly, but anyway, we're kind of sold on the story. So that looks nice. Yeah, I really think that's got some good. Just think if they come out with an announcement soon regarding that FDA approval, you'd expect this to kick on because there's a lot of players that would know about that now. There's been a lot of research filtering around about it too, and we know a few the brokers are following it too. So I reckon that's good to attack pretty quickly. Those highs around 630 at least, probably higher. I think that could really. I mean, if this is a start, it builds that base, even if it contracts a bit, builds another higher low. If that's the leg up we're expecting, or the strength of the leg up, that's from 3 to say 650. So that's 350. Add that to 420, 770. Could be targeting around that 770 mark, which should be nice. But we'll just have to see. But anyway, now that's got to play out sooner or later. Anything else, guys, before we kick off into it? I'll just keep plugging away on my premium. We've got an idea. I don't know if anyone follows that. Premium platform producer. We've spoken about this before in one of the other streams. I think they're doing well. It's not huge, obviously, but they've been around for a while. They've funds under management could just continue to grow. They're doing well. They're producing the goods. Good competitive. I think it's a portfolio management system. So that's looking good. I had that way back here, and then I think I got it again in here, and just got out before a good run, which tends to be one of my downfalls. Impatience. But that's going nice. You can see these holding higher lows here. You had that good spike up. So most of the sharper moves have been to the upside, which is good. Your sudden spike, apart from this one here, I think that was spiked into the December, and that really just rejected that support zone down at 36, say, and then held a little higher low, and then started working its way back up again. So that looks good. Michael, WPG, a small gold stock with very good management. Let's have a look at it. Nice. No, that's actually. Let's go back. This could potentially be lifting off a base there. around that 5 cent mark. Just purely on a technical basis, I don't know. You probably got a bit of a heads up on what happened back then in 2011, Michael. What that was, whether reconstructed or I don't know what's happened there. But it spent a lot of time, years and years around there. It didn't really try to lift up. You can see the difference between here and where we are now. We're coming off this many years of hanging around those lows. So we just try to get that, which you can see. I'll just get a bit more. You can see it sort of lifted up. It only really just retested those highs, sold off, and then really held those lows for years and years around 3 to 5 cents, and then lifted up quite. So it's had some sort of announcement, I guess, and that just took out those recent highs. I mean, I know they're years ago. We don't know what they're doing now, but it might be coming out at the end of something. It's through something. Who knows? It did a capital return of $1. There you go. So dropping like a stone. So it looks like something's happening there. It looks like it popped up through these recent highs and then sold down. But just now it looks like it's getting a, we'll just have to see how it plays out. From a technical point of view, it looks like it has sold down. But if this is a higher low, if it starts building that higher low on the weekly here, it could easily just drag it in. There's always going to be some profit taking, especially after it's done nothing, because people are remembering what's happened here, not where it's come from and what it's doing from a technical perspective. So you get this sort of rush up, and then it's consolidating the highs, spike through the highs, and consolidating just through here, then roll over. Bit of profit taking, I'd say. People are just probably looking back on that and going, look, I'm up. Spent years doing nothing. I'm just bored of it by now. And then, the way it's moved up here as well is quite positive. So we'll just have to see how that plays out, but not too bad. It's a nice one, Michael. Clement 8th, 3D. Mining. Hey, what's going on there? Something else. Aura Labs. You're just trying to diversify, Clement, out of mining. Let's just have a look. So I'm getting stuck on that page. Looks good. So there's not obviously much data back then. You can see it's stochastics that moved down was quite strong, but it really didn't take out those lows. We just held a higher low. What's caused that? Something's happened today. What's that? Non-binding term sheet for proposed commercial venture. All right, what are they? A non-binding term sheet signed between Aurora Labs and Worley Parsons. That's a nice little deal to have in place. The relationship is focused on 4 areas: license, distribution, agreement, design, certification solution center, print bureau, and powder production. Each of these areas is discussed in the announcement. Okay, so it's a nice positive news. It's opened up strong. It's just backed off into the close, so there's probably a bit of profit taking in there. And sometimes this happens when you get it. It's not that old. The stock's only listed soon, so you've got a people who bought it probably in the capital raising. 3D printing. I saw something interesting on, I don't know where it was, Facebook or something about 3D printing in concrete. Ridiculous. It's coming on in leaps and bounds. Yeah, it was the same. So if you've got it in the prior to it's listed in the ASX, you got it in the capital raising. You probably held it. You're looking for a decent push up, and maybe you got it there. And you missed the boat, and that's probably why we're just getting a bit extra. People just happy to take a bit of profit off the table. It's been a little while now. You're looking for a quick buck, but that itself technically looks good. You've got a massive spike up for whatever reason, 540. Actually, massive spike up. That's great. Don't know what price they floated at. Have you been following this since the float, Clement? Or do you know what price they come on the ASX? Are they listed at? Massive spike up, little high low in there. Try to go roll over, wash out those lows. But again, we've spoken about this before. When it doesn't wash out too much, it's not as negative as what you'd think. You just get those. We'll draw it up. You get more of. I don't know why it's defaulting to that. More of a move down, a high, and a wash down. It doesn't take out these lows by much, and you can see the MAs are still up. So it means that That was a strong move. Obviously, there's a little bit of steam got to come out of it. When it pops up here, people go, "Look, I'm taking profit. We've missed the boat. That's it. It's as high as it's going, whatever." But then it's you can see here, it's just starting to do well. It's contracting slightly. That's only, it's not a strong move, but the fact that it's pushed up, started to roll over. But this type of price action lower is not strong either. You get a strong move up, followed by some sort of a bit of a weak effort to bunch those highs. Just did a bit, and then that's probably led a bit more selling in there. But it's been soaked up on the way down, it looks like. So this type of movement down to me is just someone happened to buy it. It's not a strong bang, and then maybe you get this type of whoops. So this price action down is a hell of a different to a sudden shock down, and then you get the bargain hunters pushing it back up. It still can't. That's the anchor, say, for a move down. It's pushed down, it's smashed down, and then you get this bargain hunting, and then bang, it goes down again. That's different type of price action to, this similar price action on the upside, retracement of a down move, and that one is a retracement of an up move. That's not very negative. It's more people just sort of stepping in and buying bits and pieces on the way down. Still happy to buy, and it's held that higher low, you can see, and then popped up on good news today. So it'll be interesting to see whether it can go on with it and get through these. It's just about touched up there. What was the high? 38. I think those highs are 48. Was it today? 38. So 10 cents off these little highs there. So once it gets through there, I'd expect the next few days, and you can see there's stochastic just roll up. Looks like momentum's just changing as well. Obviously, I wouldn't go by that, but that move down is obviously finished. You might get a few days of contraction, a bit like this, and then it goes on with it. But it's starting to look positive. We're getting the other end of the chart, which we're interested in. Yeah. Oh, so there's your reason for following it. 20 cents. Cool, that would be nice. I wonder why people got out of it up there. A huge spike up. It would have been good if you're the lead manager, the company floating that. It'd look pretty good, wouldn't you? Pretty sweet. All right, anything else, guys, you're going to kick off with? Just looking through now, guys, just seeing where a few things are. VLW still going on. That still looks good. I'm going to look at the weekly. That's looking nice. That's the dividend play we mentioned a while ago. The weekly's grinding its way higher. It'd be interesting to see if it can get through that high. It's starting to fall short a bit here. You can see on the daily it's rolled over, so you'd want to see it get through 55, but this is probably maybe a prime sort of the setup we mentioned before, an inside breakout inside of this high and this low. So that's the major move down. You get a move up, contraction. So it's all got to do with this leg up, contraction, and then it break out and take out these highs and then continue on up to here. And that could still mean the weekly is still trending higher, and see if it can attack that 255 zone. What else do we have? What else do we have? It's one we were sort of looking at. ABC. I was looking for that to, it's breaking through this little high, contracting back. If it doesn't start looking a bit positive soon, I think the problem is, look at that. If you look at that move up, that's a monthly chart. That was since '09. It's had a good strong move up, so it's bound to have some steam taken out of it soon. John, DWS. Ooh, what do they do? All right, so we'll go through this. DWS. Service company provides information technology consulting services to large corporate entities and Australian government agencies. DWS provides solutions and services including digital solutions. All right, it's interesting. Cloud, managed application, cloud service, okay. Web solutions. Let's look at the chart. First thing, just going off the monthly, you can see Big push up, push down to those lows around 40. It's tried to go back up again, held for a long time, tried to work its way back up through those highs, couldn't do it, started rolling over. We retested down towards those lows. So the thing is now what we're looking for, that's picked up off those lows. So if we go into the weekly, you can see that here. This is the most recent price action that we're interested in, and what levels are going to come under fire, or what could provide a bit of, well, some problematic areas. The weeklies look like it's had a good solid move off that after a strong move down too, quite a negative move down. A bit of a move up, it had a pullback and kept spiking higher around 2015. We had a bit of retracement, held a higher low here, and we've just pulled back. So this is the inside trade we're talking about. It's pulled back, still holding higher lows here, and then you get an inside breakout around that 115, which took us through these major highs at around 135. Pushed up. So we're looking for that type of price action again. This may, similar type of thing, inside breakout here, we're at 136.7. You'd expect that to be taking us price up through 145, but then you're going to start getting to this major congestion through here around 155.60. See previous congestion around 213.14. Now, there's nothing to say it can't keep going through, because just that monthly move that's roll over, that's a major rejection off those lows. So we just got to look at this most recent price action. We've got a daily. See, it's clearly holding higher lows. It's just been, I don't like it, it's a few rejection candles. You can see when it pops up, there's nothing, and then it curves over slightly, and then it comes up sharp. So there's a bit of selling going on there for whatever reason, but you can just see the different price action, the characteristics each stock can have, which is actually interesting. You just got to, and I think that's one thing you got to take note of when you look at your technicals, is each stock has sort of slightly different characteristics when it's trending, when it's moving. Just take note of what it's done, just so you can sort of set yourself up for a trade, or you can attack it slightly different. Like this one just pushed down and had that strong move up, and it's done that before. It's a strong move up. Really couldn't. It's hard to get on board in here for what I like to see. The break. By the time it broke somewhere around here of this down move, I would look for a retracement of slightly higher low, and then go get my entry, minimize my risk, but it didn't happen here. Yeah, it's sort of whippy. That makes sense, and that's what you probably could expect on a lower volume stock anyway. What does it do there? Yeah, $1.50. There's only about $5,000 on there. There's not a lot on there. Anyway, yeah, it's holding higher lows, so definitely that trend is starting to look up, but it's sort of anticipating that accelerated move. So when it comes to the low, you can see, and this is one thing to take note of, when it's accelerating to the highs, it's still within, it's off a base. You want to see it pop up here and then get a clear sort of an entry signal where you can minimize your risk, and then you want to see if you can accelerate through the highs. If it just spikes through the highs and gets caught up with these previous highs at 145, say, then it may just start grinding lower like it does roll over, but then there's nothing to say it can hold a higher low around 132, thereabouts, and then just kick on from there. So it is a bit of a whippy one, but stochastics are in not a bad place. It's getting, so this is another problem too. You step back one on the weekly, it's just starting to get a bit extended, and we're sort of falling short of 145, which would suggest you get this type of movement. Price is getting extended below this. You'd rather see price get extended when it's taken out the high. A strong move. It just implies a bit of selling prior to those highs at 145. So yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on. But at the moment it's up. Are you actually involved in that one there, John? Or sorry, not involved as such, but into the share, you bought it? I know it's just got to keep up and lagging a bit on this stream. IFN, go. That looks good. We'll see it finish above watching. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, just keep an eye on it. It's like I said, it's holding high lows. So, I mean, even if you just draw that up, here we go. Let's just get that. Right, you can see that. It's probably even through here. not so strong through there, but you sort of take these ones. Okay, it looks like that's the key. If we just go back, it's just touched down there on a few occasions. So that's decent enough, trend line to hold. You'd think it's got the potential just to back off, retest 127, which by the time it gets down there, it's probably going to coincide with this trending channel as well, trending support. So that way it's worth. And then if you get a setup just like this, just through that sort of level there, you can see that there. That's a fair entry. That pop up through here, you got your minimized risk down below here. It's not very tight. If you get that type of entry off here, and then obviously your target's going to be back up to, which it looks like it'll probably eventually break. We'll have to see how it plays out. Then you're not taking much risk on board for maybe 2-to-1 trade, at least. You're always looking for those sorts of odds where you can actually justify it. And then if you get lucky and you get into a nice early, if that's just remembering back to that, probably not so much, but that weekly, that 2-to-1 trade, it could pop out through those highs and get congested up at 160. That's going to give you more than 2-to-1, so it's worth having a crack at. That's it, guys. We'll probably market's down 31. It's sort of held down at these lows. I would have expected it to not be so savagely down, really. I mean, it's not a big move down, but considering what the US did, wasn't a big night. We've had a bigger day, really. So I would expect to go into the US. They're probably just, and this is Friday too. We never know what they're going to do in the US. You don't want to get caught if they get smashed tonight and get whole lot of longs. But I don't think he's going to. It's still going to have to implement. So it'll be interesting to see what he says, see how the market takes it, and see where we turn, what it spits out on Monday morning. But anyway, guys, probably call it quits there. If there's anything else you want to have a quick look at, anything I missed, anyone? If not, so what we're doing on Monday is the stream, as per usual. We'll have a presentation, and then Tuesday, Wednesday will be just an alert just for the presentation, which will be 10, 20 minutes, 10 or 15, somewhere around there. Just a short, quick one on something we're looking at, we're taking interest in, or a topic. And then back, so we're going to do these streams where we're discussing more of what you want to look at, say on the Mondays and Thursdays, or around that time, if there's anything that suits it, around that 12:30 as per usual. But yeah, so just discussing the whole kit and caboodle, also going through what we're viewing with the FX. Want to start getting to that a bit more. Looking at some commodities, what could move the market, what is moving the market. Anything you think is of value that we can discuss, just whack it through to support@tradesetup.com.au. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us. No comments there. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see what the rest of the day takes us, or where it takes us anyway. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.